Hey, travel family. Welcome to another episode of Travel Chat. Where to next? Carnival Sunrise. Yep, you heard me right. I said it. Carnival Sunrise. For many of you who have been watching us, you probably already know that we have traveled on the Carnival Sunrise in the past. However, in this episode, I'm going to give you my full review of my second experience on the Carnival Sunrise. So, for many of you, you all heard of the poop cruise, right? Then you probably know that at the time the poop cruise happened, the Carnival Triumph was the ship that went through that experience. Carnival Triumph was renovated and renamed Carnival Sunrise. Yes, the poop cruise is now the Carnival Sunrise. So before I go into my review, let me tell you all a real quick story about my very first time cruising. So back in 2003, me and my family, we decided to take a cruise, and guess what? It was on the Carnival Triumph. Okay. Now at the time, we did a 7-night cruise. Especially for a first time cruiser, that was considered a long time to be on a cruise ship, especially not knowing what to expect. But our vacation started off really, really great. Then we had got to a point where I had my 1-year-old daughter with me and we started walking towards the pool. I was going to take her to the pool, let her splash around in the water, enjoy the sun. And so we started walking from the room to the pool. We walked through the dining area. And next thing I knew, I started hearing plates crash on the ground. You hear the utensils clacking, like we are standing sideways as we are in the middle of the dining room. And then as I looked out towards where the pool was, I could actually see water flowing like out from the pool. And at the time, I'm thinking that is ocean water. But but after it all settled down, kind of found out it was pool water. But that was a terrifying experience for me. We saw multiple people go grab their life jackets, and it was like they were rushing to their muster station because we thought it was going down. However, after about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, the boat did come back to its normal landing. But we were pretty tilted at the time. And so next thing we knew, the captain came on the intercom and he says, "Hey, sorry about that. We went through a windstorm." I was like, "A windstorm?" So that experience actually caused me not to want to go on another cruise again. Once we had ported back to Miami, I got off that ship and I told myself, never again. Okay. But 20 years later, in 2022, I came to my husband and I was like, "Hey, I think I want to do a cruise." And sure enough, we went ahead and booked our first cruise together. And it ended up being the Carnival Sunrise. If you go back, check out our videos. Yes, you will see our Carnival Sunrise video, our first time cruising together, which was a great time we had. So for this cruise, my husband and I flew in from Atlanta to Miami, and we came in the night before our sailing date. If you do not know by now, please make sure you do try to travel in the night before if you are going to be flying into port. If you try to chance it and fly in the day of, anything can happen. We've seen people flights get canceled, delayed, and end up missing the cruise altogether. So always try to fly in the night before. And with that being said, my high recommendation of hotels would be where we stayed at this time, which is the Gale Hotel in Miami. We'll be doing a full review of our stay at the Gale Hotel in another video. So make sure you subscribe and hit that alert button so you don't miss that video. However, the Gale Hotel, it was clean. It had a great vacation vibe. And it was super close, walking distance to all of the high major attractions around Miami. So definitely a highly recommended hotel if you're going to be flying in the night before. One thing I can mention when it came to the distance from our hotel to the port, it was very short. We actually ended up taking a Uber ride from our hotel to the port the day of. And I want to say our Uber ended up being only like $8. So that was a pretty inexpensive trip for us. We loaded everything up, headed straight to the port, and we actually end up getting there sooner than our check-in date. Our check-in time. Our check-in time was set for 1:30. However, by the time we got to the port, I want to say it probably was about 10:25. They went ahead and took our check bags, and we also were able to go ahead and do our check-in. We showed them our passport. Next thing we know, we were making our way onto the ship. And that was probably about a 20-minute process. So before 11 o'clock, we were walking on the ship, which was great. But one of the first things that we always do once we get onto a ship is find our muster station. We like to go ahead and get that completely checked off our list. So we are not one of the ones they are hunting down or looking for to complete the muster station before the ship can take off. So we were able to locate our mustard station, get that checked off our list, and then after that, we went to go see if we can find something to eat. So I want to say about 12, close to 12 is when the buffet opened on the Sunrise. And apparently everybody else was thinking the same thing as us. Because be prepared, pack your patience. The buffet area was definitely crowded. A lot of people just trying to find an open table so they can have somewhere to sit and to be able to grab something to eat. But I do have a little hidden gem for you. One thing that we did find out later is that one of the dining areas, I want to say it was on probably the fifth floor. They actually had a buffet station set up there. And a lot of people apparently didn't know because it was a lot of seating room. It wasn't as crowded as the original buffet area. And it was a whole lot cooler as well. And you were able to fix a plate with the same items that were on the original buffet. So if you're going to be selling on the Carnival Sunrise, I believe I mentioned this in one of our clips as we broke down our day on the Sunrise. Definitely check the dining area and see if they set up a buffet station. Trust me, it's going to be a whole better experience for you to be able to grab lunch. But from there, we waited a little bit. We took the time to check the itinerary, figure out what we were going to do for the rest of the night. And then before we knew it, about 1 o'clock, 1:30, they told us our rooms were ready. So from there, we went ahead and headed to our rooms. Good thing is, Carnival always moves super fast. Our luggage were already at the door for us. So we were able to bring our bags in. And if you know me, I'm also going to go ahead and do that Clorox wipe down of the room as well. So I know the cleaners, they do a good job, but I also know they try to rush as well. So I want to make sure I do a good cleaning just to make sure everything is, prepped and prepared for our full stay. But we were able to go ahead, check the room out, and then from there, it was time for the Sailaway party. So the Sailaway party took place. One thing I can say, so it's been a whole lot of buzz about the Sailaway party, how they took away the hip hop music and the line dances from the Carnival cruises. Well, let me tell you, the hip hop music was still there. All right. So the music was going, everything was sounding great. The only thing I can say when it comes to one of my con items is that I wish the music was a little bit louder. Like pump it up for us. Give us that carnival energy. So the carnival energy was just a little bit low, I felt like, on this selling. However, they had their classic line dances. However, not all the line dances. So for those looking for the, boots on the ground dances and everything, that actually came later. And that was during the white party. And I'll talk about the white party later on in this video. One thing I can say about the Sailaway party, I can tell that Carnival made the move to make it more family oriented. Like for instance, I guess you can say with the music selection, even though they still did the hip hop, it was more cheesy in a way. So very, hand-picked selection when it came to the music that they did play. Also, another thing that they did not do is kind of have like the one-off, people dancing in the circle, which could get a little risky when it came to some of the moves of the adults. So that actually was not done on my selling. So it could be just a clear sign of future sellings of something that they're trying to do away with. And then another thing I noticed, they bought out the Thing 1 and Thing 2 from the Cat in the Hat characters. And so it kind of, once again, like I said, gave that family vibe. So did away with a lot of the risky dancing and everything and made sure that it kind of stayed more in tune for the family and kids that were on the ship. So something to take note of. But the Sailaway party was still a vibe, still had a good time dancing and celebrating the fact that, hey, our vacation was getting ready to get started. All right, so on this selling, there were plenty of activities to do. So anytime you are looking to take a look into things to get into, you definitely want to pull out your Carnival app. On that Carnival app is going to be your itinerary, all things that are set for each day. So definitely had the classic items such as bingo. And I must say, I participated this time in a couple of rounds actually, of bingo, which was really fun. It was a lot of people, I must say, that also were interested in playing bingo. So that was definitely fun to see. The host, he kept it, a good vibe and kept things going. I must say, I was kind of disappointed because I didn't win any of the rounds of bingo. But I did enjoy having a good time of at least trying to win some money. So it was fun seeing other people win money and being able to participate. One thing I can say, which was kind of strange. So let me just say this about the bingo. The very last round, you know how you always get a chance to win like the big money. So the prize was $1,000, right? And you had to get like a special, I think it was like your T bingo in order to win, right? Well, on my time of playing bingo, they actually had two winners. They end up winning for the big prize. But what shifted this prize was that the two winners had to actually pick between three envelopes. And the envelope was either 500, I think it was 300 as the other amount, and then it had the $1,000. So the two winners had to make sure they picked the right envelope. So for my selling of the bingo round that I was participating in, the two winners, they picked one of the envelopes. They even had a chance to switch the envelopes before they revealed if they actually won the $1,000 or the 500. Um, Good thing they end up picking the $1,000 envelope. However, guess what? They had to split that $1,000. So they end up walking away with 500. Now, me personally, if it was me and someone else won, I would have been kind of looking to win that $1,000. Okay. But not having to choose between envelopes either, because I would have been upset if I would have picked the $300 one. Like, weren't we playing for the $1,000 prize? But that was just me. And like I said, it was my first time playing bingo. Probably won't be my last. My husband did look at me and say, hey, you are only allowed to play one bingo round on any sellings in the future, because I sure was ready to go a couple of other days. But that's a different story. All right. But they also had the classic karaoke. You all know I love me some karaoke, but actually didn't get a chance to catch any of the karaoke on the Carnival Sunrise, but they did have it available. They also had water slides for the kids or even adults. So if you are daring and wanted to take a trip down the water slide, hey, it was unlimited. So have at it. Me and my husband didn't go down the water slides this go round. He prefers more of the tube rides. Me too, because I just feel, I don't know, a little bit more safe and going down the tube ride. But hey, that's something that you like to do. Definitely enjoy the water slides on the Carnival Sunrise. Other activities included gym and spa. Please note, one thing that was definitely a surprise for my husband was that the gym closed at 10 o'clock every night. So if you are one that likes to try to get all your activities in and have all your fun, and then right before bed, like to, go do a good quick run or quick workout, make a mental note that if you want to do it on the Carnival Sunrise, the gym closes at 10 p.m. Okay. So that was a downer, not being able to have maybe like a 24-hour gym or something of that nature. So just something to make mention of. But for other activities, you also have your kids zone. You have putt-putting golf. You have a basketball court. You also have the obstacle course that sits up high, and they put you in a harness and you kind of go through all the different obstacles. That's for you all daredevils. I didn't do it. But if you like a good little challenge, that is some of the different activities that you can participate in. And then they also, especially when it came to the basketball, like I mentioned, you have the basketball court, but they also have different contests like a shooting contest and those type of things that you can participate in as well. And then, hey, you have your pool. If you like to just jump in a pool, had a couple of jacuzzis for you to do as well. Those are just different things, different activities that you could just easily go and participate in throughout the days on the cruise. Now, when it comes to entertainment, Carnival Sunrise definitely had a couple of options for you. Definitely had the Married Game Show. You ever been on a cruise, you always know they usually have a good round of the Married Game Show where you have your couple that are newlyweds. Then you have your couple that's been together for like ages. It's always normally like a or older couple that's been together for 60 plus years, 50 plus years, which is always something funny to see. And then you have your couple that's just been together for a while, hanging in there. And it's always just a good show. If you do like to go to the marriage game show, make sure you get there early and get a good seat. It's usually sometimes always standing room only. So make sure you get there early. You also have your comedy shows, in which we participated in the different comedy shows, which were pretty good. That's another one you definitely want to make sure you get there early to be able to capture a seat. A lot of times with these shows, they open the doors 30 minutes before show. So if you can try to get there 30 minutes before the showtime, that gives you a good time to be able to get your seat, get your drinks if it's something that you want to definitely capture before the show. So that way you're not trying to put in an order during the show. So definitely something to think about. The Sunrise also had a contestant from The Voice. He actually performed, and that was definitely something different. So we were able to listen through a couple of his songs that he performed for us. I got to figure out, I'll probably put the name of the contestant from The Voice down below in the video. But he did a really good job in his performance. There's also a musical production as well. So one of the things, especially when it comes to Carnival, is their music production. They do a really good job with the singing and then the performing, just kind of all coming together. So that was great to see as well. One thing I can note, something that my husband had mentioned, he felt like the entertainment was a little bit more advanced as far as in our first selling. So he was definitely expecting a lot more this go round. So it was a little bit, I guess you can say, slightly watered down from what we experienced during our first selling. But they definitely have the musical production vibe, if that's something that you are looking for. One of the exciting things, I must say, was the different parties they had out on the deck. So one of the nights they had a 80s party, in which they played all of the, 80s music. They gave you little light light up poles, I guess is what you can call them. So everybody had them and was vibing and dancing to the music. Some people even dressed in their 80s attire. I must say, I was not prepared for 80s night. That is something I am going to make sure I try to look out for our next selling for any 80s night, 70s night, because I want to come and participate. I want to be prepared and have my best outfit on. So definitely something to take note of is that if that is something that you're into. They also had a all white party. Now, the all white party I did know about and came prepared for. The all white party is where you definitely got more of your hip hop and more of your line dancing. Okay. So the boots on the ground. Oh, I was ready. I practiced before the cruise because I just had a feeling the boots on the ground was going to come out. And I bought my fan. Yes, I brought my fan. And you can tell when I had my fan, people were looking at me like, wait, are you supposed to have your fan? Let me tell you, take note, everybody. For the white party on the deck, yes, you can have your fan, okay? I was not the only one with the fan. Even the cruise director that was leading this whole all white party had his fan as well, okay? And I want to say maybe one or two other people had their fan. When it comes to fans, fans are not banned. Let me say that again. Fans are not banned on the Carnival cruise boat, okay? It is only banned from the club. You cannot take your fan into the club. So if you're going to be going to the club late at night, leave your fans in your room. But if you're going to be participating in the all white party, bring your fan because I can guarantee you they're going to play boots on the ground. All right. So, so all of the other line dances as well. They played during the all white party. Like I mentioned, that is what, a perfect time they play other, hip hop music. And I had a ball. Okay. I was out there participating in all the line dances that I did know. Some I still, trying to, make sure I do learn. So I'll be ready next time. But the all white party was a fantastic time. Also, they had different times. They had, I call it Atrium Groove. They had like 80s night, or they had like hip hop. They'll do different songs and everything. The cruise director led it along with the DJ. And just with the multiple floors of the atrium, it was definitely a vibe because everybody was standing around, everybody was participating and singing all of their, favorite tunes and everything. I know I had a good time. I was singing loud. You would have thought that was my karaoke time. Okay. But definitely a great time for sure. Shout out to our cruise director that I felt like played a huge part in just bringing the vibe needed for all the singing and the fun that we had. Also, plenty of bars on the cruise for you to be able to experience. They even had a sports bar for you to go to that had different games playing on their big screens and everything. And then also, my favorite bar is the Red Frog Bar. There was never a quiet moment, I must say. Every time I went to the Red Frog Bar, they had different singing going on, almost kind of sort of karaoke a little bit, where you were singing with the entertainers. And they had trivia activities there as well. So it was a good time, good place to be able to grab a drink, participate in the activities that was going on inside of the Red Frog Bar. All right, family. Now let's talk about the food options, okay? Now, one thing I can say, and I don't know if it's because now that I've been sailing on different ships, especially Royal Caribbean and being, on the icon of the seas, I must say I became a little spoiled when it comes to having multiple options for food. So on the Carnival Sunrise, I got to take note since it's being, it's a smaller ship compared to, the big boys like the Icon of the Seas or the Star of the Seas. But you have a couple of dining options. So you have your, normal dining rooms, which were actually pretty busy. We actually didn't experience any of our dinners in the dining room. However, every time we got to those different floors, it was always a line outside. I'm not quite for sure what was their wait, time looking like or anything. But because of the different itinerary events that we were trying to see, it just made more sense for us to be able to pick up something from the buffet or, grab something from the pizzeria. But on a Sunrise, you also have your buffet, which they usually have similar foods that's going to be in the dining room, but just on the buffet for you to have. Every night they had a salad bar, if that was something that was more of your interest. Also, I noticed when it came to their dessert options, like I mentioned, coming from those bigger ships, you have just so many different options to choose from. On the Sunrise, your options were limited for those type of things. So just kind of keep that in mind if you ever, sail on a bigger boat and then looking to sail on the Sunrise. But they did have their other options available that were no additional cost, came with the cruise, which were like Guy's Burger. I love a good Guy's Burger. You hear me? That was one of the things I was super excited about hopping on the Carnival Sunrise is getting a good burger from Guy's. So Guy's Burger was really great. Also, Guy's Pig and Anchor was available on the Sunrise. Now that's usually during embarkation when that opens, and I think it opens another time. However, this sailing, we actually did not stop by Pig and Anchor. only because from our first experience sailing the Sunrise, we did try Pig and Anchor, and it wasn't that great. Okay. And it could just be me. Some of you probably had a great experience there. Maybe it wasn't their perfect day when we did try it. However, just for me, I'm I'm a country girl, okay? I grew up on that line of Georgia and South Carolina, and I know good barbecue. So I'm a little picky when it comes to my barbecue. So maybe, like I said, it's just me. So don't let that stop you from trying Guys, Pig, and Anchor for yourself. They also had a pizzeria. The pizza is really good. Carnival's pizza, I must say, is number one for me versus other ships like the Royal Caribbean. And so the line actually wasn't that long. My husband did become a fan of their mushroom pizza. So if you ever looking to try something different other than pepperoni pizza, try the mushroom pizza. It was really good and a good option for you if you're just wanting something different. Also, Blue Iguana Mexican spot. I am a Mexican fan. You hear me? So when it comes to trying out their lunch menu, that was definitely on my list. And then also their breakfast is really good. A breakfast burrito from Blue Iguana is a must if you are ever sailing on the Sunrise. And then also they had Swirls, which is your unlimited ice cream station where you can go and fix you a quick cup or a quick cone of your chocolate or vanilla or a swirl of both. So those options are available for you at no additional cost. Now, Carnival Sunrise did have a couple of specialty dining options, in which these do cost an extra fee if you do choose to dine at the locations, in which they did have a wing spot. However, take note, the wing spot is actually located in the Blue Iguana Mexican location. So, which is kind of weird to me. I talked about it before in previous videos. I feel like they need to have a little wing station to itself so people will know exactly where to go to try some of their wings. But I did see some of the sailors trying the wings. They look good. I didn't get a chance to try them. But if you did want something different compared to the norm and want to spend extra cash on some wings, they do have that option available. They also have sushi dining location if that's something that you're into. They also have their steak restaurant. They have an Italian spot as well, and they have their seafood shack. So all of those options are available for you. Like I mentioned, there's additional fee if that is places that you want to dine in. But yeah, hey, the choice is yours. If you do go, please enjoy. Tell us what you thought about it. If you ever tried any of those locations. All right, so as you can see, the Sunrise, they have a couple of options compared to if you ever sailed on bigger ships like the Icon or any of the Royal Caribbeans. I know there's always a competition about the dining, versus Royal Caribbean and Carnival. But keep in mind, one of the things I always tell everyone, something you have to kind of pay attention to is how much you're paying for your ticket. So if you're going on a Carnival cruise, especially like Icon of the Seas, you're paying that bigger price. So you're going to have the more options to choose from when it comes to food, compared to going on a Carnival like Sunrise or any of their smaller ships. The price is not as high. So, they're going to make sure that you have a couple of options, not as many as the Icon. But just know the price difference does kind of make a difference in your options of selections when it comes to food. All right. Now, here's the part that's always hard for me to talk about. Why? Because it's always the last day of the cruise. Final disembarkation. This is the day where I begin to step into reality that I'm no longer on vacation. But I must say, it's also always important to pay attention to in the process when it comes to final disembarkation day. One thing I can say for me and my husband, we actually missed the selection for assistance with luggage, where we could have been able to leave our check bags at our door the night before, and they'll go ahead and come by and collect them, and they'll already just be off the ship when it came time for us to go through customs. So we did miss that opportunity, but we were okay with that. Being that we were not in a rush to get off the ship because our flight back wasn't until later that afternoon. So we had time. And so what we ended up doing, we ended up just taking our luggage to breakfast. We went ahead, got up early, got all of our items packed, and we took our luggage, found us a spot at the buffet for breakfast. And we sat down, took our time, enjoyed breakfast, slowly made our way off the ship. For the first time, I want to say we probably was a handful of the last people to get off the ship. Because like I mentioned, we weren't in a rush, which probably worked to our advantage, especially after we end up going through customs because once it was time for us to, get an Uber, a lot of that crowd was kind of already moved out the way. And even our Uber ride from the port to the airport actually ended up being cheaper than what they were charging if you were to take a shuttle per person to the airport from the port. So that's something to kind of take a note of. For me and my husband, I want to say it ended up being like $12 for us to Uber from the port to the airport. Once we got to the airport, we were there, had to wait a little bit, however, to actually check into the airport. So everyone, take note. If you have a later time for to fly out, just make sure for us, we were being told that, hey, you can't check your bags in at the airport unless it's 6 hours before your flight was to leave. So by the time we got there, we actually had to wait a little bit. One of the ladies at the airport, one of the workers, they were telling us that it was going to be 4 hours before our flight was set to depart because it was considered a cruise day. However, we were able to successfully check our bags in 6 hours before our flight, which made it a whole lot easier for us. We were prepared to spend time at the airport and just kind of relax, walk around the airport. But it was important for us to go ahead and get our bags checked and kind of go through security so we can at least have that headache out the way. So just kind of take note of that to kind of time yourself of coming from the port to the airport. All right, y'all. So that was my experience sailing on the Carnival Sunrise. And like how I like to do with all of my sailings, I need to give it a grade. So on my emoji reader, I will give the sunrise a happy face. One thing I can say, at the end of my cruise, I was satisfied. I had a great time. I was kissed by the sun. I ate good, had great entertainment, and I felt like I didn't spend a whole lot of money for that experience. And put all that together, I call that the perfect vacation. All right. So hopefully you all learned some nice tips and tricks as far as cruising. Or maybe you are planning on going on the Carnival Sunrise sometime in the future. If you do, please enjoy yourself. Come back to my video, right? Post, comment, tell me how you enjoyed the Carnival Sunrise. If you ever been on it or if you're getting ready to go on it, I want to hear your thoughts. All right, travel family. Until next time, keep traveling, keep chatting. Thank you for watching Travel Chat.